Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Weller and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5e and how to make a melee attack. If you have a look in the player's handbook on page 195 right through to page 196, it gives you the details for making the attack and rolling damage. A melee attack is when you use hand-to-hand combat. The melee attacker allows you to attack a foe within your reach. Now most things have a reach of 5 feet, and for this situation we're going to use a 5-foot reach. A melee attack is typically made with a handheld weapon such as a sword, a warhammer or an axe. A typical monster makes melee attacks using their natural weapons to strike with, such as claws, horns, teeth, tentacles or other body parts. This example is a battle between a hill giant and the party. The fighter and the rogue are up there in melee, close combat and handheld combat where they are using their weapons. The first example will be with the fighter who has the great sword. I am using the character sheet from the Dungeons & Dragons 5e starter set. Usually you're using your strength, so have a look on your character sheet and it will give you what your strength score is. It will also give you the modifier. In this situation, the modifier for this particular character is a +2 to strength. You're going to add that to proficiency if you are proficient with that weapon. If you're not proficient, you're just going to use the modifier for your strength when you make the attack. Because the fighter is proficient with the great sword, they get to add their proficiency, which is listed here. It's a +2. This is a first level character. So that means that their attack listed on the character sheet for the great sword is a +4. So I'm going to write down 4 and we're going to roll a 20-sided dice and add the result to that number. So I got a 4. So 4 plus 4 equals 8. Now 8's not very high. The armor class on a hill giant is actually 13. So that is the DC that I need to actually hit. Okay, 13. I need to get a score which is either equal to 13 or greater. So let's do this again and have another go. See if the fighter can actually strike and cause some damage this time. So I roll the dice again. I get a 13. That's a lot better. So we add 13 to 4, comes to 17. Now 17 is a lot better. It is definitely more than 13. The armor class is 13, 17. So it hits. So now we're going to roll some damage. Have a look on the character sheet for this particular fighter and it lists it right here, right beside where it says the attack bonus. It's got damage and it says 2d6, that's 2 6-sided dice, and you're going to add your strength modifier, which is listed as 2. And it's doing slashing damage, so I'm going to roll these dice and add them together and add 2. So I get a 4 plus 1 plus the strength modifier, don't forget that, that's 2, comes to a grand total of 7 damage. So that means that the hill giant will lose 7 hit points from that attack. It's now the rogue's turn to make an attack. I'm using the character sheet for the rogue that is in the Dungeons & Dragons 5e starter set just as before, and listed here is a short sword. Now a short sword is very different to a great sword. A short sword is got the property of being a finesse weapon. A finesse weapon means you can use your strength modifier or your strength to make the attack, or you can also use your dexterity. You get to choose. You can use either one. Not all weapons are finesse weapons, but if they are listed as such, you can choose either one. Now it would not be sensible for me to use the strength modifier for this particular rogue, because the rogue's not very strong, but it has lots of dexterity. It's very quick. It has a dexterity of 16, which means its modifier is a +3. It is also proficient with a short sword, which would be sensible to use something you actually know how to use. Proficiency is +2. So when the rogue over here makes their attack, they get to add 5 to whatever they roll on a 20-sided dice. So 5 plus whatever I roll, I get a 14. So 14, add that together, comes to 19. As I said, the attack must be either equal to or greater than the armor class of the monster, and in this case the hill giant has only got an armor class of 13. 19 is good enough to hit the target. So you get to roll damage. Having a look at your character sheet here, it says right beside short sword, there's the attack, +5. Damage is 1d6, that's a 6-sided dice, and you get to add +3. Now, with the damage you're adding, because it's a finesse weapon, you're not adding your strength modifier, you're going to be adding your dexterity modifier, because dexterity is related to a finesse weapon. So that is going to be 3, plus whatever I roll on my 6-sided dice, which I get a 2, and it comes to 5. So the rogue strikes the hill giant with a short sword and does 5 hit points of damage. So that is the simplest way I can explain how to make a melee attack. What we're really doing is I'm showing you how to make a melee weapon attack. There are other types of attacks you can make that are melee attacks, such as melee weapon attacks, melee unarmed attacks, improvised attacks that are melee, and also spell melee attacks. But that's really going to be coming up in another video. If you found this video helpful and informative, please share, like and subscribe. Make a comment below if you have any questions about making melee attacks, and in this case I mean melee weapon attacks. Leave them in the comments. I will answer those questions and answer them as best I can. And till next time, keep rolling those 20s.